Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the program. My name is William Hemsworth. It's great to be with you this week for this week's episode. I have a very exciting episode for you all. We're going to talk a little bit about art and faith, how they intersect. And to do that, we have Nicole and Mark Thomasson from ThomassonArts.com. How are you both doing today?
We're great. Thanks. Thanks for having us,
Awesome.
William.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And I thank Matt for introducing us. Matt is a mutual friend of ours, Master Quinn. He's a mutual friend of ours, and very thankful for the introduction. So, so tell us, can you tell our audience a little bit about yourselves and maybe how you got started in art?
So I grew up here in Denver, and I went to college, and I ended up just kind of like taking more art classes than anything else. And I just loved it always. And so I ended up getting a bachelor's in fine arts, and then worked as an artist, and then always had another job, of course. And then we met in grad school, and we both got masters in theology. And Nicole is art education and then theology as well. So we just love the arts and have kind of been around it our whole lives.
I've always been an artist. My parents were super supportive. Started drawing when I was little, like all children do, and then continued to pursue the arts through high school and college. And my former art teacher said to me, well, you have to pay your bills, so at least get an education degree. So that's how I ended up getting into art education. So I've been teaching for 20 years. And then Mark and I, like he said, we met at grad school when we were getting our theology degree, and continued to pursue our professional art career, and started our family business in about 2010.
Oh, great. 2010. So you've been at this for 24 years. I can't talk today, apparently.
Well, no,
This
it's
will happen.
okay.
This is
Yeah.
what happens when you have too much coffee in the morning, apparently. But
Yes,
so
that's right.
14 years. Can you tell us a little about the ups and downs when you started your business?
Yeah. So the thing that it's a luxury item, right?
Yeah.
So right there, it's already not necessary. But at the same time, it is necessary. We need beauty in our houses. No one lives in a sterile, empty home. The hard part, as far as the business side of it goes, is trying to figure out the right pricing and the right product. So eventually, most artists like us eventually get into prints because reproductions have a volume that you can't get from original work. Because most people can't afford original paintings. The truth is, like, someone's like, well, how long did it take you to paint? I was like, that's not really how art works, but let's just say 6 months. And so I always make the joke, I'll take 6 months of your salary for this painting. And they're like, oh, that's so, I was like, so when you see a $10,000 painting, it really is $10,000. And it's not just like a made up number. So that's a difficult thing. And so we took a long time to get to a place. We also make a lot of original art. We keep small and we keep it affordable because we want people to have original work. And that's a real challenge as Catholics to say, okay, you have to make work that people can have. It's not all Sistine Chapel. It's not all giant work. And then part of that is just the education of the people on the art business.
Yeah.
Because you can't beat China, right? They're going to outproduce you any day.
Right.
So you have to explain to people, like, look, the same way craft beer is better than, Natty Light, original art is better than Hobby Lobby.
I would say one of the ups for me is that we share the same worldview. Like beauty is so important, our faith is so important. So that's the way our home is. And our dreams are the same. But one of the challenges I think is really convincing people, like Mark said, that they need original, handmade, beautiful things in their life. And then, of course, juxtaposing that all with, we run our business ourselves and we have 5 beautiful sons. So balancing family life and production of art, as well as sales, as well as the business, it's a lot of work to do that and to do that well. And we just kind of feel like we're just starting to springboard in a more successful way over the years, because we spent years raising our babies. So
I'd say another big up, though, is when you hear from people and say, I just love seeing this work in my home. I think one of the problems with generic art is you quickly ignore it. It just becomes a decoration. And that's, like, what you want is something that kind of arrests you. And it's like a good meal. Everyone's like, man, that McDonald's was amazing. No, like, you don't. So that's always great when you hear from people that have your work, or when they say they have friends over and they're like, who is that? So that's always just one of those beautiful moments that makes it more worth it.
So how does your art mix with your theological backgrounds?
So you go first.
Well, so we, over the years, we've worked out our language of talking about art, the differences between sacred art, religious art, and art for art's sake. So our faith and our Catholicity informs, of course, all that we do, right? So much of our work is in those three different categories. So we'll produce work that Mark has produced work that is sacred. It's meant for prayer. It's meant for worship, like in a sacred space. We also produce work that's contemporary and religious. And that could be in your home altars and different spaces. And then decorative art and art for art's sake, I really believe in like God's great cathedral is nature. So Mark and I do a lot of nature work, pretty big body of work within nature that is, and it's informed where we live and our background and who we are, being in the West in Colorado.
Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of times people think that, oh, you're a Catholic artist, so you do sacred art. It's like Mozart wrote operas and masses. Artists need to do everything. And so unfortunately, we get truncated a lot as Catholics. And so when we were studying theology, people were like, why are you getting a theology degree? I was like, to be a better artist. Because the more you can know the creator, the better you can create.
Yeah, that's
and it's just such a gift. So a lot of times it's also the first way of evangelization is art.
And beauty, right?
So if you have a giant Jesus painting at your front door, all right, that's great. But maybe a buffalo, and then around the corner is the giant Jesus painting, right? So like houses need a lot of things, and so do offices. And unfortunately, so many of our middle spaces in the church, so like the lobby of the office, that'd be a great place for a beautiful landscape, as opposed to just like a banal sort of generic thing. Because those are the ways we start moving into the sacred. So
no, I totally understand what you're saying. So we have this great art inside our churches, and then the other parts of the building, maybe this bland space, but I'm not trying to be, I'm kind of blunt sometimes, but,
so are we. It's okay.
But okay. But every part of the facility leads us towards that contemplation, prayer, leading us towards Christ in some way. Is that what your art is trying to convey to people?
yeah, or the other side of it with the church, sometimes it's Jesus in every corner, which eventually kind of diminishes the actual beautiful one you have in the church, right? You really want to have beautiful things, but you can't have like, I've been to one church where like literally every wall had something Jesus and Mary on it. It's like, it's too much Jesus and Mary. They're not every single corner. Like, and so you need to have the quiet of other things to have the loud of the sacred space.
Okay. No, it totally makes sense. So do you do a lot of your work with individuals? Do you do it with churches? How's that looking right now?
That's a great question.
Well, we do a combination of things. So on our website, there's 3 categories that we work towards, basically how we do what we do. The first one is we help people understand the concept that people are like, I want to buy original art and be supportive, but that's very intimidating to a lot of people, especially people who aren't in the art world. They know that it's good, that they know they should participate in this, but they don't know. So we kind of take the guesswork out of it. So we're willing to work with any patron, whether it's for a church or whether it's for your great hall or whether it's for your home or even your businesses. People, you're going to see, I love that right now there's a huge movement in our businesses in our country to bring in and support original artwork with whether it's a doctor's office. You kind of start seeing it, you pay attention to it. I was like, oh, that's original work from an artist. And realtors' offices, brokers, anywhere, broker office, staging homes for real estate. We can do all that. The other thing, Mark, I'm gonna let Mark talk about the other thing we do.
Well, so the other interesting thing that we've realized is, so a lot of times Father knows he needs a beautiful piece of art for his church, right? But the boiler went out. So his first thing is thinking, I got to get the boiler fixed for heat for the winter. So we've also made up a model of art for fundraising as well.
Oh, cool.
Because we want to help people realize that like there's a connectiveness that you can have. So an original piece in the facility and then a reproduction for your people. So all the people in the parish can have that. Because one thing that I think Americans, we love to go places and see the thing and come home with the art. Well, that should be our own churches. We should have that. We should have a sense of pilgrimage when we go places. And like Nicole was saying, a lot of really high-end restaurants and hotels are getting back to original art, which is beautiful to see. And then they're starting to realize people like have a connection when they go to a convention. They see that art. So there's just people want more tangible, especially in the digital age. And so we have a fundraising model that we can help with people. I mean, the other practical thing is we do payments, because again, no one actually understands this, but we all have $1,000 in our pocket, right? Our iPhones, but no one would pay that for an iPhone. Payment plans change everything.
Yeah,
One of the other things we do to build community and evangelize, kind of springboarding off these two concepts and ideas, is that we can, what was that part where I totally just blanked on what I was going to say. Oh, building community. Sorry. Thank you. We can come in and bring in a piece, talk about the piece, do kind of like what would be considered like a book signing, but where you can be supportive of the original artwork. And then again, bring that out into the community where people can buy the reproduction and be a part of that experience within their churches and community.
Because that's one of the things that having original art is, you actually have access to artists. So when they say, why is that blue? They can tell you, as opposed to guessing. And I always say this, like Caravaggio and Michelangelo, they're doing just fine. Their estates are great. And everyone loves these classics, but we can't just live in the past. We need to, like, if we're going to build a culture of life, we have to actually build the culture part of the culture of life. And most original artists, when you have access to them, they can explain, they can talk, they can educate. And really, the art becomes an encounter more than just a thing on the wall. And that's really, I think that's what makes Catholics different, is we have that beautiful encounter that the scripture's alive for us. It's not just no book. And so when our art doesn't reflect that, we lose that sense of the incarnation. And that's what we need kind of everywhere. We need to have better things. Catholics should have better things because we have a better story. We have the story of Jesus Christ.
Well said. A question I'm sure you've dealt with quite a bit in your business. How is AI affecting your guys' work? I already saw the face.
It's on my face.
And I kind of said it all. But I'm curious because I deal with this a lot, because kids always ask me about AI as well. So I'm just curious your thoughts as artists about how to overcome that.
Well, I'll just give a story. A bishop was doing a big pilgrimage, and the poster had clearly an AI image, right? Because the hands are always wrong in the AI stuff. And I thought, just take 5 minutes and find someone and do it in real life. We deserve better than that. You deserve better than that. And I just see it just is cheapening everything. I mean, it's just cheapening everything.
Well, what comes to me is, if our faith is incarnational and God took on flesh, and why would you want something that's computer generated? It's counter against who we are as Catholics and Christians, to not be conscientious consumers, intentional consumers, when we just purchase for the sake of purchasing, or get involved in all of the consumerism that's out there and rely on things that are AI. You take the humanity out of it, and taking the humanity out of it is taking Christ out of our faith. To me, it doesn't make any sense. And it's a juxtaposition. And honestly, like,
it's gross.
There's so many amazing contemporary Christian Catholic artists specifically in the US, and even more. I mean, but to support those people who are trying so hard to take the gift and talent that God has given them, use that gift and talent. The Renaissance were beautiful, but we need a new Renaissance in our country and in the United States, and in our churches and in our homes and in our lives, and be conscientious consumers and support the arts. And AI just simply doesn't do that. Unfortunately, I think it's taking away from people purchasing original art and supporting original artists who are working to make a living.
Actually, and I'm going to make this even worse, and I'm going to ruin something for everyone. So every Sunday for Divine Mercy, a church will bring out a poster of Divine Mercy that's in a nice frame. And it's like, no, we shouldn't have there should be no posters in the church. Only, again, I don't mind a poster in your home. I don't mind a reproduction somewhere else. But if you're going to put a big thing up for Divine Mercy Sunday, it should be handmade. Because if not, let's just record a choir and play them at Mass, because they're going to sing better than your local choir. Let's have Fulton Sheen preach that Sunday. No, we have real preachers. We have real music. But every Divine Mercy Sunday, I've been at so many, they'll bring out that poster, put it up, which is beautiful, but it's not real. AI is the next layer of this not real. Spend some money, hire an artist, paint a painting, bring it out every year. Like, it's not like, that just drives me crazy.
So I just wanted to get your views on that, because I do writing as well, and you know, it's affecting everything in a not a good way. Not a good way.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, the fact that AI is coming for the artists, go for the lawyers. Like, leave the artists alone.
It's hard enough, right? From what I hear. So can you walk us through the process of creating art, the different steps that are entailed in it? Because I don't know anything about art. I'm one of those people that messes up a stick man. Like, I can't do that at all. So what's the process like from beginning to end, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, that's a great question. What you'll find is, just like any writer, any musician, any artist, they're going to have their own processes, right? Everybody's going to do a process differently. And for me, the process starts always with research. I like to deep dive. So if I'm going to do a portrait of a saint, I'm going to know the life of that saint, because it's an encounter of me drawing the face of that person, right? The imago Dei, the face of Christ, the face of humanity. And I'm going to want to know who that person is. And then from there, I'll do sketches, exercises, and some will be good, some won't, some go in the garbage. And then I work towards a final product, whatever that final product would look like. And some of those final products are, to me, the world doesn't get to see them. They're not successful. And I wasn't happy with it, but it was still an exercise and a usage of my creative part of me. That's my process. And I usually, just for the sake, depending on if I'm painting, I do watercolors, or if I'm drawing, I work in a 3 to 4 layer system. So I'll go in and work something for one layer, then a second layer, and then a third layer, whether it's charcoal that I'm doing or whether it's watercolor, and you'll work forward. And that's just some of the techniques that I've used over time.
So for myself, I'm going to date myself, but like, I always think of the movie Hoosiers, where he had them pass the ball 5 times before they shot. Classic. Right?
Yeah.
And so I always think I have to touch the canvas at least 5 times. One of my big things, my mom always says, your work is so messy, but I like the drips and the brush strokes. I really want to show the human hand, but to show that, I have layers. So I usually do 5 layers minimum. And it usually means I have about 5 or 6 paintings going at once, because you paint, it's wet. So I paint wet and wet. So like, not just like very dry paintings, but like I do oil paints. So oil paints and lots of terps, and I thin it out. And so when it gets thin, it layers up and layers up and layers up. But you can ruin that by just painting right back into it. So I have to let it dry. So my paintings need dry time between layers. So that's why I usually have a couple different going. And the other thing that's really hard to quantify for most people is like just staring at it time. Like, I'll stare at a painting for a day. I'll go for a walk, come back.
Yeah. There's a lot of think time and process.
It just isn't right. I did a portrait of Mary, which I hated. And then I painted over, which is a really cool story. I painted over it, and I just like sort of had the structure of the body there, and it turned into Jesus. I was like, oh, it was supposed to be Jesus the whole time. Oh. Like, and so I recycle a lot of paintings. If I don't like them, I'll just start painting over them. Like the masters always did that. They now X-ray paintings to see the different layers. I never want to waste the paint, because that's already some beautiful textures there. But yeah, for me, it's definitely layers and layers, and going back to it and thinking about things. The other thing, after you've done it for a long time, is composition and color theory. That kind of just starts to come to you. Like, orange looks good with blue, or looks bad. And, so you just kind of that starts to unfold itself in the process. But yeah, so again, people say, how long did it take you to paint? Well, I said 20 years, like I've been doing this for a long time. So I don't necessarily always think about it. One of the interesting things where technology has gotten better is with projectors. You can really try different compositions out on your canvas by projecting images, as opposed to just sketching. So a lot of my Western work, I do like a buffalo with a big flower. And so I can take a projector and I can project the flower to see the different way I want to compose the painting against the canvas. And that's interesting because the masters, no one knows this, but the masters always had tricks and techniques as well on how to cheat.
Now, looking on your website, I see that you also do like speaking at parishes and all that. What are some of the things that you discuss while you're at parishes?
We tailor it to what they need and what they want. I have the things that I prefer to speak on. Of course, mine's education. I do tons on education. And I, of course, love Mariology, so I always deep dive on that. I've led retreats. Mark is an expert on catechesis and evangelization, specifically with the sacraments. We have the Restored Order in Denver, so he's masterfully be able to present to parents on. I'm speaking for you, but
no, like my biggest thing is like the church has things they say, so let's actually believe them. So when the church says you're the primary catechist, let's take that seriously and figure that out.
Thank you.
Yeah, and so, but a lot of people don't. Again, a lot of people don't know what that means. So one time I was saying to this group of parents, I said, "No, you're the primary catechist." This mom said, "I can't do that. I just don't know what that is." And I said, "What do you do for a living?" She goes, "Well, I'm a lawyer." I was like, "I think you can do it. I'm pretty sure you can do this." She goes, "All right," and everyone laughed because we've convinced lay people that they can't do it. And I said, "I can know theology, but I can never know your kids. You know your kids better than I do.
Yeah.
So I'm going to teach you how to teach them." And again, kids learn everything from us. Apple meet tree, right? And so my thing is really returning that authority to the parents. But that's true in everything. I think this crosses over with our other life with the art. People are like, "Well, I don't know, I just like it." That's a perfect reason to buy it. You don't have to think like, "Well, is it the right color? Does it match my couch? My neighbor judge me?" Who cares? Just buy the thing. And we've really, really like lost our sense of authority as lay people, both in our home and our purchases and in our consumerism. We're just kind of like, "Tell us what to do." No, like, so, and I think I really believe this since Vatican II, the Renaissance of the laity is the future of the church.
Yeah.
They're just, we heard Barron at the Eucharistic Congress. He goes, "Take the lumen to the gentium," right? Take the light to the people.
Yeah.
Right.
So that it's time for that.
So if people wanted to purchase your art, where could they go?
Our website, Thomasson Arts, is the best.
Yep.
All right. ThomassonArts.com. Nicole and Mark, I thank you so much for your time today and sharing your passion with us all. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. God bless.